Let's say you're not working on a jacquard loom and you're working on a shaft loom and you don't necessarily need this drawdown, you need the tie up and treadling. Well, you can do that by going to Equipment Settings and then selecting your type of loom. So let's say you're working with a shaft loom, it'll then show you your tie up and treadling pattern. Looks like you're gonna need about 9 frames for this design. So if you have to make it for an 8-frame loom, maybe you go ahead and, oops, I did something wrong, so I'm gonna go undo there. Okay, maybe you move this guy down. There, now you've sort of optimized it for the size of loom that you have. This also becomes a really fun way to design. So let's close that and let's copy it and open it again and play with a different possibility. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to say this is a shaft loom, I'm going to close it, and now I'm going to go in and I'm just going to draw my own pattern up here. Well, this is kind of interesting. I don't know, I sort of really enjoy this playful element of being able to draft in different ways. So again, not a super well-formed weave because you have these long floating sections, but something somewhat interesting nonetheless. So maybe that's a pattern we actually want to weave. Well, we could come over here. Oops, let's undo that. That wasn't good. We can move this, and we could just fill this with different stitches, or we could just bind the long floats. So let's say we just want to say, I want to make this, but don't allow any yarn to float more than 10 warps or wefts. And so you can come over here and just sort of modify that. It's not a really advanced algorithm, but again, you get some fun, interesting sort of glitch effects. Now to end this video, I'm just going to show you some of the things you can do to really get kind of wild with this. So let's say you have this. Let's say you want to make some freehand shape. Oops, my freehand shape maker is broken. Okay, I'm maybe not going to use that freehand shape, but this gives me a good opportunity to show you some of the view features. So let me zoom out a whole big bunch. Oh, that was a big mistake. And I'm just going to X out of that. And if I want to get back, I can just sort of drag this over. Okay, now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Where was I? I was right here. Okay, so now I can duplicate this. Now I'm going to just start overlaying it a whole bunch of times and see what happens. Now maybe I'm going to take this circle and I'm going to make a circle so that it goes over the top of this. Ooh, that's kind of wild. So every time that I actually drag 2 drafts on top of each other, it's creating a new draft based on their product. Another thing you might want to do here is, oh, that's kind of fun. Let's keep moving on this. I'm actually going to zoom out because it's a little bit wild. Whoop, get me back. There we go. Just lots of lots of super glitchiness. So if you just want to maybe cut out a piece of this, you can use this marquee tool and it'll just cut you out a portion of it, and then you can work with that if you'd like. The last function I'll show you is a helpful one called Salvage. And Salvage just means it's going to add a selvage to the sides of your draft so that when you weave it, you don't end up getting a really messy selvage and you have nice ends. The other thing I'll show you before we end this is the mirror feature. So sometimes what you want to do is just make multiple copies of the same thing and then merge them back together somehow. So let's say we're going to rotate this first one. We're going to flip this one vertically. Actually, let's give it a more fun one. Let's give it a shift. So let's shift it left. And let's shift this first one. Ooh, actually, let's do the slope. Slope is kind of fun. So with each of these, we can apply the different parameters, see what happens. Shift left just sort of moves your whole draft like it was a cylinder and you're moving it around in a circle. And then you can just, you know, always explore other things that happen. Like if I interlace these three drafts, what kind of new patterns are going to emerge? Here we go, surprise supplies. It looks pretty glitchy. But at the very least, you end up with some really nice bitmap art. So that is a really quick overview of the core features of AdaCAD, and I hope it's enough to get you playing with drafts. Last thing I'll show is if you click Help, you get to our Help website where we show a bit of an introduction in how to use the mixer. Since we've been developing this tool so quickly, some of the interface has changed, but the techniques remain the same. And so with certain techniques, we try to give you a lot of different, we can download the file that you can use it, or you can view the related idea. So this is a stitch we used in a fabric that remembers. You can actually download the Ada file for this and open it in the Weaver. So that's kind of fun. Let's see if it works. This will be, you know, a fun adventure. I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna open a new file. I'm gonna say it's an AdaCAD file. I'm gonna choose it. It's in my downloads. I called it a fabric that remembers. And then I go ahead and upload it. So this is a big file. Let's see if it loads. Here we go. So this is the actual draft I used to make that fabric. We can go in here and just zoom out so you can see it more effectively, but it's quite large. But at least this gives you a way to then open up and inspect it, right? And you can modify individual pics. You can see certain things about which materials were used in this design and the various systems that were in place. So this is just giving you a sense of what's possible when you save and load other files. For now, just go have fun, and thank you for watching this.